Sounding better?
Yes.
Yeah,
better.
already.
Okay. A band of weary explorers. Traveled down the Columbia River in the Oregon Territory.
Yeah, that's
Ready?
You ready?
Oh, yeah.
With their eyes on the prize.
But you didn't say what year it was, but I'll be like,
Can I continue?
Okay, a band of weary explorers traveled down the Columbia River on the Oregon Territory with their eyes on the prize. Meriwether Lewis. And American Revolution hero William Clark has traveled, no, I already used traveled, has
explored, ventured,
Ventured.
explored, ventured,
has traversed, traveled 2,000 miles, endured, let's see, what kinds of things have they endured? Bugs, hostile. I'm going to use the word Indians because we're writing in 1805, so that's the word that they would use. We would probably say Native Americans now, but hostile Indians. I noticed that President Jefferson in his letter referred to them as Indians, so I'm going to use that word. Hostile Indians, dangerous animals. And extreme weather. To succeed in this mission of finding a pathway to the Pacific Ocean. Now, I haven't put all my notes in, but I think that that's okay because what I need is kind of an introductory paragraph. Hannah reminded me that we needed to have a paragraph that came first that kind of grabbed my reader and also kind of summarized what I'm going to talk about. So, Kevin, I take your point. I don't have the date in here yet and I need to work that in, but let's see what I've done. A band of very weary explorers traveled down the Columbia River in the Oregon Territory with their eyes on the prize. The Pacific Ocean was only 20 miles away. This corps of discovery, led by President Jefferson's personal secretary, Meriwether Lewis, and American Revolution hero William Clark, has traversed 2,000 miles, endured bugs, hostile Indians, dangerous animals, and extreme weather to succeed in this mission of finding a pathway to the Pacific Ocean. Wait, I'm not done.
oh boy.
Because what I'm going to talk about is the fact that they're almost there, but they're still kind of stuck, right? This is hard. I want to say something about the weather. The end of their voyage is not as
Clear. As close as it seems.
no. Okay, that's a good way of saying it. Not as close as it seems. Harsh winds and cold weather make these last 20 miles seem like 1,000. Okay. What do we think? Billy? Okay, I'm going to go back and do my headline in a minute. Okay? Yes?
When you said pathway, wasn't it called like the Northwest Passage or something?
They were trying to find a Northwest Passage, but they didn't really do it, so I want to be careful not to use that. But you're right, they were looking for the Northwest Passage. Anything else you noticed? What do you think compared to my first one?
That's very good.
Kevin, what do you think?
Well, you kind of changed the topic a little bit too, because the first one, all you talked about was the Pacific Ocean and getting there. But now you were saying kind of like they went against animals and you put more about the weather and you said the Indians and stuff. But like you said, with this, all you said was going to the Pacific.
Well, and you know what I figured out? I'm writing this for potentially people that don't know what I'm talking about yet. I have to tell them that I'm talking about Lewis and Clark. I need to give them a little bit of information about what this piece is going to be about. I need to give them a little bit so that they care to read the rest of it. Okay? What else do we notice? Julia?
That you described who they were. You said, Meriwether Lewis and William.
Okay, so I described who they were. Okay. Are you more interested in reading this?
Yeah, extremely.
Big time. Do you want to say more about that, Brandon? Why?
Well, because the first one you wrote wasn't really, didn't have a lot of good things in it.
Okay.
And this one has more explanatory, exciting things in it.
Okay, so I'm making it a little bit more exciting for the reader. I do need to add a headline and a where it was. So I'm going to say Oregon Territory, because it wasn't called Oregon then, it was the Oregon Territory. And I do need to add in the date. Maybe I could just start with that. November 7th, 1805. A band of weary explorers. And then I can go on and say that they actually got to the Pacific on the 19th and continue my piece. Yes?
So the way you just changed it, it's supposed to read Oregon Territory, November 7th, 1805, a band of weary explorers. I don't think you need to start with the Oregon Territory being the first thing you say, because if you do, it'll say the Oregon Territory, November 7th, 1805, a band of weary explorers traveled down the Columbia River in the Oregon Territory.
Okay, but
you're repeating yourself.
Thank you. I am. But if you looked at every single newspaper we looked at, every single one of them stated first where it was, right, before they started the article. So that's what I'm doing here, is that like byline statement of where the article is taking place. You're right, it's redundant, it's repetitive, but I noticed that that's what newspapers do. And then they still say where in the body of the piece, okay? I think this is going to help you a little bit when you begin writing your pieces. What have we talked about today that you feel like you can take with you when you begin drafting your piece? What can you take with you in your own piece of work? John?
Well, I know that I can put some voice in it, because now I know what if I don't have voice, I have a model to show me what it would look like, and I don't want my piece to look like that.
Okay, yeah, we don't want our piece to look like that, so we need to add in some voice. Okay, great. What else can you take with you when you begin your draft today? Julia, what are you going to take with you?
Don't assume that the reader knows everything that you're talking about.
Okay, let me list out some of these things. So we need to add voice. Don't assume. I don't know why I'm making these like headings. Your reader knows what you're talking about. You need to maybe add some background information in. Any other words of wisdom that we can list up here? to help you as you begin drafting? Maddie?
Descriptive words.
Descriptive words? Or did you say verbs?
Words.
Words. Okay, so add in some description. Timmy?
Well, add in verbs like what they did,
Okay.
like going to the Pacific Ocean.
Okay. Oh, I like some of my verbs here. Traversed, endured. Okay. So make sure you've got some good active verbs in there. Any other words of wisdom? Kevin?
Well, this is kind of one that's pretty simple that you should know. Make sure your information is correct.
Okay, and you need to make sure your information is correct. But I'm hoping that at this point you've checked your notes over enough that you know that you don't have any, I don't have like 2 dates for when they arrived at the Pacific, that it makes sense. Greg, what else can we take away from this lesson today?
Using correct info.
Yep.
There's some things that would be I have 2 different. It's about the prairie dogs that were sent back, and I have one place says that there was 4, and the other place says there's only 1.
Yeah, and remember we learned about this when we were looking at building big. So you might need to find a third source and say which is the more common understanding. Because again, when we get information on the internet, a lot of times that doesn't have to be checked by anyone. Anyone can kind of throw anything on the internet that they want, right? So you need to find another source to corroborate or to prove one source correct or incorrect, okay? So that's a good point. Anything else in our drafting? You ready to give it a shot? Every writing project that I give to the kids, I try to do myself. Sometimes just to know the timing of it, to kind of understand how long certain aspects will take. So the writing that I do for them is authentic, but it's a little contrived because it's for the students. But I think that that makes them more comfortable writing for me because I will write for them and I share most of my writing with them. And I think also that they want to know that the person that's teaching them writing is a writer. So, it makes them more eager to take risks in their writing, to see me taking those risks in front of them. And then go on to answer that question. Sure you could.
I think that good teachers build up an attitude toward revision that is beyond simply, we've got to get this up to proficient level, otherwise you're not going to have a proficient score on your assessment writing. And, we're teaching students, we're helping students develop as writers. We're not just fixing pieces of writing.